was close to 70,000 US dollars, and as we speak, it is just lingering around 20,000 US dollars. What's happening? Across the globe, drivers are rethinking their habits and personal finances amid skyrocketing prices for gasoline and diesel, fueled by Russia's war in Ukraine and the global rebound from the COVID-19 pandemic. Energy prices are a key driver of inflation that is rising worldwide and making the cost of living more expensive. This is where we'll begin the full briefings of Undaunted tonight. I am Onyi Opala, and as always, Star Smart is here. How are you doing, Star?
Very well, Onyi. But I must say it is breathtaking. And as you just mentioned, fuel prices are affecting everyone in every nation and every continent of this universe. So if I should be fair, I would say I am fine with a little frown, but hopefully. Fellow Ambazonians, ladies and gentlemen, once again, good evening. Reports around the world have it that the fuel prices are skyrocketing and affecting business. A motorcycle taxi driver in Vietnam turns off his ride-hailing app rather than burn precious fuel during rush hour backups. A French family scales back ambitions for an August vacation. A graphic designer in California factors the gas price into the bill for a night out. A mom in Rome, figuring the cost of driving her son to camp, mentally crosses off a pizza night. Decisions across the world's economy are as varied as the consumers and countries themselves. So some remedies are walk more, dust off that bicycle, take the subway, the train or the bus. Use a lighter touch on the gas pedal to save fuel. Review that road trip, is it worth it? Or perhaps even go carless.
For the untold millions who don't have access to adequate public transportation or otherwise can't forgo their cars, the solution is to grit their teeth and pay while cutting costs elsewhere. Ngojen Trong Tuyen, a motorcycle taxi driver working for the Grab online ride-hailing service in Hanoi, Vietnam, said he's been simply switching off the app during rush hours. Many drivers have been halting their services, making it difficult for customers to book their rides. Gasoline and diesel prices are so complex equation of the cost of crude oil taxes, the purchasing power and the wealth of individual countries, government subsidiaries where they exist, and the cuts taken by middlemen such as refineries. Oil is priced in dollars, so if a country is an energy importer, the exchange rate plays a role. The recently weaker euro has helped push up gasoline prices in Europe.
Not only that, Oni, there's often geopolitical factors such as the war in Ukraine, buyers shunning Russian barrels, and Western plans to ban the country's oil have jolted energy markets already facing tight supplies from the rapid pandemic rebound. There is a global oil price around 110 US dollar per barrel, but no global pump price due to taxes and other factors. In Hong Kong and Norway, you can pay more than 10 US dollar per gallon. In Germany, it can be around 7.50 US dollar per gallon, and in France, about 8 US dollars. While lower fuel taxes mean the US average for a gallon of gas is somewhat cheaper at 5 US dollars, it's still the first time the price has been that high. People in poorer countries quickly feel the stress from higher energy prices, but Europeans and Americans also are being squeezed.
Americans have less access to public transport, and even Europe transit networks don't reach everyone, particularly those in the countryside. Charles Dupont, manager of a clothing store in a Sonnet region south of Paris, simply has to use his car to commute to work. He says, I practice eco-driving, meaning driving slower and avoiding sudden braking, he said. Others are doing what they can do to cut back. Pump prices can be politically dynamic and dynamic at the same time. U.S. President Joe Biden has pushed for Saudi Arabia to pump more oil to help bring down gas prices, deciding to travel to the kingdom next month after the Saudi-led OPEC Plus alliance decided to boost production.
The US and other countries also have released oil from their strategic reserves, which helps but isn't decisive. Several countries have fuel price caps, including Hungary, where the discount doesn't apply to foreign license plates. In Germany, the government cut taxes by 35 euro cents a litre on gasoline and 17 cents on diesel. But prices soon began to rise again. Germany also has introduced a discounted 9 euro monthly ticket for public transportation, which led to crowded stations and trains on a recent holiday weekend. But the program only lasted for 3 months and is of little use to people in the countryside if there is no train station nearby.
For a fact, people are pumping just as much gas as they did before the pandemic, according to Germany's Gas Stations Association. People are filing up and filling up just as much as they did before. They are grumbling, but they are accepting it. Group spokesman Herbert Rabbi said, "Is there any relief in sight? A lot. Depends on how the war in Ukraine affects global oil markets." Analysts say some Russian oil is almost certain to be lost to market because the European Union, Russia's biggest and closest customer, has vowed to end most purchases from Moscow within 6 months. Meanwhile, India and China are buying more Russian oil. Europe will have to get its supply from somewhere else, such as Middle Eastern exporters, but OPEC, which includes Russia, has been failing to meet its production targets.
For many, spending on things like nights out, and in Europe, the near-religious devotion to extended late summer vacations are on the cutting table. Isabel Bruno, a teacher in the Paris suburbs, now takes the bus to the train station instead of making the 10-minute drive. Leo Tears, a graphic designer from the San Francisco Bay Area city of Hayward, has to be strategic in budgeting gas as he heads to meet clients. He might not fill the tank all the way. Gas prices in California are the highest in the U.S., reaching close to $7 per gallon in some parts of the state. The cost of the case has officially affected everything in the world, socially and mentally. People are adjusting to make ends meet. That was it for the latest plague in the world. Let's get into Africa and find out some more things happening in the world. We'll be right back.
Guinea. Junta mounts pressure on 2 mining giants. Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya leaves a meeting with high-level ECOWAS representatives. The head of Guinea's ruling junta, Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, has imposed a 14-day deadline for the creation of a joint venture to exploit a huge iron ore deposit, Guinean state television RTG reported. A tripartite agreement was signed 3 months ago for a period of 35 years between the Guinean state, Anglo-Australian Rio Tinto, Simfer, and winning consortium Simandou, with a view to exploiting the Simandou site southeast, one of the world's largest iron deposits. The agreement provides for the construction of a railway of about 670 kilometers to link the mining corridor to a mineral port on the Guinean coast south of Conakry. They are due to be completed in December 2024. The first commercial production is expected by 31st March 2025. We note a gap between your vision of the implementation of the terms of the framework agreement and our expectations. This situation is not only regrettable but also unacceptable for the Guinean state, the junta leader deplored at the weekend. To move forward effectively, I expect the creation of the joint venture within 14 days, he told the leaders of the 2 mining giants meeting Friday in Conakry. The operation has been hampered for years by disputes over mining rights, suspicions of corruption and the scale of investment required in a landlocked region and a country currently lacking in infrastructure. The whole project represents several thousand direct jobs. The members of the government were also received on Saturday by the head of the junta and gave the first report on their month-long tour of the country's interior, RTG reported. The report is painful, it must be said. We had an understanding of what we thought Guinea was, but the report is even more violent, said Prime Minister Mohamed Bevougi. We saw a Guinea inside where there was, in large part, the absence of the state. There was an absence of governance. There was an absence of state clerks. The men are missing. The means are missing. The systems are missing. He continued, also deploring the very poor or even non-existent infrastructures. The Guinean Prime Minister promised a report in the coming days with concrete proposals. Colonel Damboya was installed as president in a military coup in September 2021. He has pledged to hand over power to elected civilians within 3 years. Gab Ellison reporting for Undaunted, ABC Amba News.
Each year on June 20th, the world celebrates World Refugee Day. This year, the focus was on the right to seek safety. It is important for every person on this planet to know he has a right to seek safety. Whoever they are, wherever they come from, and whenever they are faced to flee. What is World Refugee Day? World Refugee Day is an international day designated by the United Nations to honor refugees around the globe. It falls each year on June 20th and celebrates the strength and courage of people who have been forced to flee their home country to escape conflict or persecution. World Refugee Day is an occasion to build empathy and understanding for their plight and to recognize their resilience in rebuilding their lives.
Let's start with a team. Whoever they are, people who are forced to flee should be treated with dignity. Anyone can seek protection regardless of who they are or what they believe. It is non-negotiable. Seeking safety is a human right. Wherever they come from, people forced to flee should be welcomed. Refugees come from all over the globe to get out of harm's way. They might take a plane, a boat, or travel on foot. What remains universal is the right to seek safety. Whenever people are forced to flee, they have a right to be protected. Whatever the threat, war, violence, persecution, everyone deserves protection. Everyone has a right to be safe.
What does seeking safety even mean? The first is the right to seek asylum. Anyone fleeing persecution, conflict, or human rights abuses has a right to seek protection in another country. The second one, safe access. Borders should remain open to all people forced to flee. Restricting access and closing borders can make the journey even more dangerous for people seeking safety. Number 3, no pushbacks. People can't be forced to return to a country if their life or freedom would be at risk. This means that countries shouldn't push anyone back without first evaluating the dangers they would face back home. The fourth one, no discrimination. People should not be discriminated against at the borders. All applications for refugee status must be given fair consideration regardless of factors like race, religion, gender, and country of origin. 5. Humane treatment. People forced to flee should be treated with respect and dignity. They are entitled to safe and dignified treatment like any human being. Among other things, this means keeping families together, protecting people from traffickers, and avoiding arbitrary detention.
Why is World Refugee Day important? World Refugee Day shines a light on the rights, needs, and dreams of refugees, helping to mobilize political will and resources so refugees can not only survive but also thrive. While it is important to protect and improve the lives of refugees every single day, international days like World Refugee Day helps to focus global attention on the plight of those fleeing conflict or persecution. Many activities held on World Refugee Day create opportunities to support refugees. When is World Refugee Day? When did World Refugee Day start? World Refugee Day falls each year on June 20th and is dedicated to refugees around the globe. World Refugee Day was held globally for the first time on June 20th, 2001, commemorating the 50th anniversary of the 1951 Convention relating to the status of refugees. It was originally known as Africa Refugee Day before the United Nations General Assembly officially designated it as an international day in December 2000.
What happens on World Refugee Day? Each year, World Refugee Day is marked by a variety of events in many countries around the globe in support of refugees. These activities are led by or involves refugees themselves, government officials, host communities, companies, celebrities, school children, and the general public, amongst others. But you see, the UK seems to have a different idea. UNHCR believes the UK's announced migration and economic development partnership with Rwanda, MEDP, will externalize the UK's fundamental obligations to people seeking asylum in the country. The partnership proposes an asylum model that undermines the established international refugee protection system. It risks the arbitrary denier to access the asylum and lacks realistic, durable solutions for the refugees affected.
UNHCR does not consider the MEDP to comply with the United Kingdom's obligations under international law and finds the arrangement to be inconsistent with global solidarity and responsibility sharing. Below we have listed the legal observations and public statement UNHCR released regarding the passage of the Nationality and Borders Act during its course through Parliament and since the announcement of the MEDP on 14th April 2022.
Today is World Refugee Day. These are the leaders of, you have the Boki leaders, the Boki team is here, Adagon 1, Adagon 3, Okende. These are the stakeholders, you see. They are saying thank you. Yes, I just watched very below now at the president of Okende to do this.
Of the person. People are actually having our own transformation and price awarded. Coming up with the next day. So I want to appreciate the government of the most digital president, Dr. Samuel Ikope. We want to congratulate you. You have not left us behind. You are celebrating with us and we are happy. Thank you.
Yeah, today is World Refugee Day. These are the leaders of, you have the Boki leaders, the Boki team is here, Adagon 1, Adagon 3, Okende. These are the stakeholders, you see. They are saying thank you to His Excellency.
As you can see from the videos, some Ambazonians had a wonderful time, especially those of them in Nigeria, Ogoja to be specific. Well, let's see more videos from the World Refugee Day celebration.
Today being the 20th of June 2022, we are present here in the Adagon settlement, precisely Adagon 1, to commemorate the Refugee Day here in the Adagon 1 settlement. Here is the Department of Refreshment. This refreshment was able to come to this point. It was thanks to our President, His Excellency Dr. Samuel Sako Ikome, for making it possible for us to come again together to commemorate and to have that acknowledgement that despite the fact that we are not in our communities, it doesn't mean that our privileges, our rights, our sovereignty has been taken away.
We'll be very happy because we, Sako, recognized us from day one. All events except this year, they used to take place in Boki. But this year, because of difficulties or financial deficiency, the program come to Ogoja, and we too, we say as the leaders of Boki, we no go fit leave am empty. We come down to Ogoja for say make we make the occasion or we paint am green. We thank Sako plenty. We thank all the people where they walk around him, and we thank everybody.
Yesterday, the 20th of June 2022 was World Refugee Day. We had Dr. Emmanuel Titer on Undaunted, and he gave the interim government statement on this year's World Refugee Day. The theme for this year's World Refugee Day celebration was whoever, wherever, whenever, everyone has the right to safety. Yesterday, we saw videos of refugees in Ogoja having a fun-filled day. We saw them dancing, eating, and making merry. We also saw that just now. According to the DHSS, this year's World Refugee Day, more than 2 million people of the former British Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia are forcibly displaced from their homes. 500,000 in a country that is not their own. It saddens our heart that more than 60% of these refugees are yet subjected to inhumane conditions, mostly in developing countries.
The Department of Health and Social Services, DHSS, of our interim government, on the occasion of World Refugee Day, June 20, 2022, joined the crusade of recognizing the plight of these oppressed people of the former British Southern Cameroons and the dire need to seek for solutions now. Firstly, the DHSS extended a word of appreciation to all its partners and volunteers and a word of encouragement to the refugees for their resilience. 6 years into a senseless war, the genocide ongoing, we have a people denied of everything that belongs to them, oppressed and suppressed, maimed and killed, forcefully incarcerated and subjected to decay, but still determined to exist, most of this displaced.
It is amazing to also state that these Ambazonian refugees, faced with unthinkable difficulties, still have managed to create a living for themselves. And obviously, that's what makes us, Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians, different from the rest. Dr. Emmanuel Tite also expressed sympathy to the family members of these oppressed people, the Ambazonian refugees and asylum seekers who have lost their lives. He extended his sincerest condolences and assured the refugees that the interim government hears their cries, sees their challenges, and shares in their pains as well. To all our refugees globally, especially the over 150, he said the entire IG pleads with the consciences of policymakers on the precept seeking safety is a fundamental human right.
According to Dr. Tita, he says as a result of the diplomatic efforts of our interim government and intervention of the U.S. government, our refugees in the USA can now enjoy an immigration facilitative procedure, the temporary protective status TPS granted by the Biden's administration. We also encourage every Southern Cameroonian to take advantage of this offer and have their statuses regularized. He also stated it clearly that the interim government is aware of the challenges our refugees are faced with in different territories and countries. He also stated clearly that in La République du Cameroon, they are not recognized as refugees.
But in Nigeria, for instance, the processes is different. Here is what it looks like. The first one. For more than a year now, the process of registration by the